Blessings again, dear brothers and sisters. Well, today we're going to continue part 2 of the story that I began to tell you about my life, my testimony. We left off, I was at the age of 15, if you recall, for those who have listened to the first part. I had major surgery because of almost like a broken neck. And shortly after that, my life began to turn more and more towards the spiritual, but not necessarily towards Jesus yet. And I was involved in music as well. I loved music. I had began to write songs at the age of 12, playing guitar, and my dream was to pursue a musical career as well as theater. I loved everything that had to do with art and music. Unfortunately, my father opposed the music conservatory. He didn't want me to go there. He didn't believe that a woman should have a musical career. And so my dream was shattered, and I was forced to work at the age of 16. Had very bad working experiences because I wasn't ready basically to be into the work field. I wanted to go to school, but that didn't happen. And so eventually what happened at 17, I went to a Christmas party. At the time I used to celebrate Christmas, I no longer do. And the band that was playing that evening, the leader of the band spotted me out and came to speak to me, and he found out that I was interested in music, and he offered me a place in his band as a backup singer. That was his tactic in a way to get to know me better. I was only 17, he was 31, but he didn't know my exact age. And so again, I wanted to keep it a secret from my father because he was against it altogether. Long story short, I ended up getting engaged to this man at the age of 18 and was married 2 months later, and a month later I was pregnant with my first child. Gave birth, I was almost 19 years old. And needless to say, it was a disastrous marriage because it was not based on godly principles. We had a second child by the age I was 21 when I had my daughter. And I'm not proud to say that I cheated on my husband because we were having so many issues, and I was angry at him, and I didn't feel loved, I didn't feel appreciated. So as soon as someone else gave me some attention, I fell for it. And that lasted for a while until I finally decided to ask for a divorce. And we did. We divorced back in 1989, if I remember. Anyway, I was about 29, 30 years old by then. And I had started to get involved in New Age massage therapy. I was studying a Japanese massage technique, and the teacher had a guru, an Indian master, and we practiced his meditations and all that. And I got involved in that sect for 12 years. We would gather together and and it seemed very innocent, very beautiful, because there was a lot of love going around. A little bit too much love, if you understand what I mean, especially like anything goes. And I wasn't comfortable with that. But I went through it for 12 years. I was involved. And then I met somebody that was in it, and we became lovers for almost 5 years. It was a very intense relationship, him also being an artist. I'm just giving you a portrait of everything that I went through and how God took me out of all those things, because I was heavily involved in New Age, and I was practicing all kind of demonic things like yoga, tarot reading, crystals, incense burning, all these rituals, without knowing that it was demonic. And finally, that relationship also ended because he betrayed me, and that shattered me. And I pursued trying to fall in love again with somebody else. And I went like this for a long time, from one relationship to another. It would never last more than 3 months, 6 months, a year tops. But I was always left with an emptiness, a void inside, and I didn't understand why. I kept praying, and I kept praying Jesus, even though I was practicing Buddhism, even though I was going to a Japanese temple. I was doing all these other things, and Jesus was just there on the side as well. But we know that's not the way it works. Anyway, I'm going to fast forward. At the age of 48, I found out that my cousin, who was the same age as I, was dying of kidney cancer. I hadn't spoken to them in over 15 years because we had completely different paths. They were very, very Catholic, and I was everything but. I was the rebel. I was the black sheep of the family who did all the wrong things. I was also involved in drugs for a while, mind you, but there were still drugs, which now are legal in our country. I'm talking about marijuana mostly. I never did any heavy stuff, and even with marijuana, it didn't work out well with me. I always felt sick, and I had demonic spirits, and anyway, so yeah. Finally, what happened was I went to see her at the hospital, and they believed if they traveled to France, to the Lourdes cavern where they have the fountain, that if they touched the water, she would be healed. But unfortunately, it didn't happen. And so she died. She died at the age of 48, leaving a husband and 3 children. And after the funeral, I remember coming home, and I was very angry. Something just shattered inside of me. I fell down on my knees, and I started screaming out to God, saying, if you're real, I want you to prove it to me. Why did you take her? She was the perfect one in the family. She never did anything wrong. I'm the one who was bad. I'm the one who deserved to die. I'm the one who rebelled against my family. I did all the wrong things. She was perfect. She always followed the rules, and it's not fair. And so if you don't give me proof that you truly exist and you're alive, well, I don't want to keep on going. I'm going to take my life. I have nothing to live for. My kids are gone. I have nobody in my life. Everything was going wrong. I was at the end of my rope, basically, and I fell asleep crying. And the next day when I woke up, I was supposed to go to the library to get a book, because in those days also I was studying everything that had to do with the occult. And I was getting a book on philosophy of this Russian woman. And so what happened was I went to the section of philosophy in the library, and I found the book, and as I pulled the book out from the shelf, off the shelf, a image, a small image like this of Jesus' Sacred Heart fell on the floor. So I just froze. I couldn't understand how that image got there in the first place, why specifically under the book that I was supposed to have. So I picked up the image from the floor and I stared at it, and my body started to shake uncontrollably. I started to shiver, feeling cold sweat and then heat. And I couldn't move. I was basically just frozen. And I heard an inner voice say to me, "You wanted proof that I'm alive, that I truly exist, that I'm here? There's your proof." And as soon as I heard that, the entire room began to spin. And it was as if I was in front of this huge screen going around me like this, and I would see videos of my life when I was born, that I was dead, and I heard, "Who do you think brought you back to life?" And another event when I was back in Egypt and I almost got stabbed when I was a little girl. I was kidnapped, and I didn't want to go into that, but he says, "Who do you think protected you there?" And it kept going like this, event after event after event. Who do you think pulled you out from the New Age movement, pulled you out from men that could have abused you? Who do you think did? And he kept proving to me that he was always, always there. His hand was always on my life. And when the movie of my life stopped, I came back. It was almost like he had taken my spirit out, supernaturally. And he showed me all these things. And then I returned to the present moment in the library, and I looked around, and there was nobody. Nobody had witnessed what happened. Meanwhile, I was drenched. I don't know why, but I was drenched, and I was still shaking, trembling. And I fell to my knees and I said, "Okay, Jesus. You're the one. I believe now. I believe. You're the only one I want to follow. You're the only true God. Thank you. Thank you for manifesting yourself in my life to prove to me that you are really there." It was such a powerful, powerful experience, my friends, because I wasn't led to Jesus through someone, nor did I come to him by reading the Bible. I didn't even have one at the time. He came to me because I asked him to prove to me whether he was alive or not. He manifested himself. I had a personal supernatural experience with him that convinced me beyond any shadow of a doubt that he's real. That he's real, my friends. And I'm speaking to you, brother, sister. Until you have a real encounter with Jesus, you don't know him. And for those who might come across this message, because that's why I'm spreading these messages, in order to reach even the unsaved, to reach those who don't believe. Please spread this message for the unbeliever. Time is running out. He's coming back soon. And he wants to save you from going to hell. Don't wait like I waited until I was 48 years old to come to him. I wish I would have come to him so much earlier in my life. I would not have messed up my life the way I messed it up. Don't wait. Don't wait until something terrible happens to you to wake you up like it did for me. It took my cousin's death to wake me up. Please believe me when I tell you he's real. He loves you. He wants to prevent you from going to hell. Come to him. There is no formula. You on your own, by yourself, in your room, with nobody around, go on your knees and ask him, Lord Jesus, if you're real, show me, manifest yourself in my life. Give me a sign that you're real and that you love me. I want to believe in you. I want to follow you. Show me the way, and I promise you he will. He will give you a sign. He will send somebody on your path to help you follow him. And you'll take it from there, just like I did at that moment. And I said, there's no one else. No one else, Jesus. Forgive me. Forgive me. And then I got up. I didn't know where to go. I put back the book. I knew I don't need this anymore. And at the time, I didn't have a car, so I used to take the metro. And I said, where are we going from here, Lord? I don't know what to do. And as I was walking towards the metro, there were people at the entrance giving newspapers. I never took it before because I was never interested in what was in it. But this time my arm went out and I grabbed one. And I didn't understand, why did I take this? Anyway, I kept it. I went into the subway. I sat down. It was a long ride, at least 25 minutes. So I started going through the pages. And when I came to the very end, the back of the newspaper, there was a small ad that said, we're an evangelical church. We want to bless you. We want to anoint you with the oil and pray for your healing. Come and visit us. At that moment, I felt you have to go there. So that's where my journey began. I began in it was a church from Brazil. I stayed there for about 3 years and I got baptized again, immersed in water. I was a baby in Christ. I didn't know anything. I started learning the Bible. I started understanding how the demonic realm works, because they were very big on healing ministry and deliverance ministry. So I learned those things through them, but at the same time I felt also that there was a an issue with money. They were asking money for prayer, money for this, money for that. Give. God is going to bless you. So after 3 years, something just, no, I'm out of here. And I met two sisters there who were also going to another French church, the biggest one in my city. So I said, I'm going to try over there. I lasted 3 months. Again, because, you know, when God gives you discernment, He will turn on the lights right away. You will know this is a church from God or it's not. And so I said, I'm not coming back here anymore because it's all about money again. It's about appearances. Yeah, sure, they have the choir, the stage, the lights, the videos. It's like Hollywood, This is not the house of God. It's their own fabricated Jesus that they're preaching, but no. But you see, one thing led to another. From that church, I met this other brother who was involved in a healing ministry, and healing was always something that was very important to me. So I got interested in that. And eventually I went to this other church where they practice healing, they practice laying on of hands, but it was only that, you see? They didn't preach on repentance. They didn't preach on the cross. It was all about laying on of hands and giving testimonies of how God healed. It was all about healing. And there was money also involved. Meanwhile, in between all these churches, on Facebook, I had befriended an African pastor from Uganda, East Africa, and he had posted that his dream was to open up a school and orphanage for the children in his village. When I heard that, I said, children, orphans. So I'm going to help you. I'm a musician. I'm a painter. I'm going to do benefit concerts and I'm going to sell some of my artwork, and the money we're going to collect, I'm going to send it to you. And I did that for 3 years, my friends. I must have sent him close to $20,000. Well, after 3 years, what happened was, my father passed away in the meantime, and my mother told us, I have my two sisters and I'm going to give you the money that your father had saved for you. So we each got about $10,000. I think it was something like that, 10, 15. For me, it was like an enormous amount. And I said, here's my opportunity to go to Africa. Because the ticket alone was like something like $1,500 at the time. Plus, I had enough money to, and when I said that within my family, they all looked at me like she's crazy. Their faces just turned. Who does she think she is? Yeah, you're going to go to Africa. You think you're a missionary? You think you're this? I didn't bother with them. And so this is what happened. And I had one more concert to give. And believe it or not, the morning of the concert was, I remember clearly, it was the 17th of October, 8 years ago. We had our first snow. So when the first snow comes, it's almost like wet, it's wet snow between rain, and so it's very slippery. And my landlord had not installed the carpet yet on the stairs. I live on the second floor with a kind of like spiral staircase going down. Little did I know. And I was going for a new job interview on top of that. So I had my backpack on, and I was holding the umbrella. And as soon as I put my foot on the first step, I slipped, and I just heard myself scream, and then nothing. I hit my head, apparently. I know I still have a scar when I fell backwards like that. Very hard, because I was completely unconscious, and I fell all the way down. And my left hand here, my ring finger was completely twisted. It was horrible to look at. It wasn't broken, it was twisted. I woke up in the hospital. I didn't know what had happened. I had a brace around my neck again. And I opened my eyes, and I saw both my sisters, their husbands. And I went, where am I? What happened? And they told me you had an accident. Your neighbor found you on the ground, unconscious. They called the ambulance. They didn't know if you were dead or alive. And the doctors were waiting for you to wake up to do some more tests. And apparently I was black and blue. Because blood had, I had bled from my brain inside. So especially my left eye, inside my eye was bloodshot, and it was beautiful. And so, and I touched there was blood behind. So I asked my sister to help me clean up the blood. And then I remembered, I said, oh, it was the concert tonight. It was a concert. And I felt devastated. I was so upset. And I had to call my friend, a musician colleague of mine who was supposed to accompany me, to tell him I had an accident, it's cancer, whatever. And then I had to call the pastor from the church, who came later on with his wife, and they prayed on me. Finally, they kept me for a while, because they were afraid that I would have brain damage, or, that the blood would not resorb. And they said, if it doesn't resorb, we're going to have to puncture you. We're going to have to send you to a brain surgeon. They'll have to drill a hole. I said, Lord, I'm in your hands. Finally, none of that needed to take place. And I had already bought my ticket to go to Africa. So this accident happened in October. My ticket was for December, for 2 months later. And I said, I'm not going to cancel it. I didn't realize at the time that God allowed this accident in order to protect me from going, and not the other way around. Mostly everybody, the pastors, were saying, that's the enemy who doesn't want you to go. So he's trying to, be a stumbling block and cause accidents so that you don't go to Africa. But later on, I found out it was the other way around. Well, we're going to stop here. It's been already 30 minutes. It went by really fast, dear brothers and sisters. I really pray that it blessed you as much as it blessed me to tell you this, to share. And again, I really sincerely hope you will share this message so that others will come to know Jesus and be saved from hell. God bless you all. See you soon.